Hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of War Thunder. Sorry, it's been a bit of a while since I put the last one of these up. I've been in the process of making actually more than one of these videos, but they're all being kind of put together at the same time. And one or two of them I decided I wouldn't release right away. I thought they'd be better off released a bit later when I've covered a bit more of the game. So yeah, sorry about that. Plus I've just been generally busy and that sort of thing. I was going to record this actually a couple of days ago, but I was getting busy getting ready for the charity live stream. So yeah, sorry about that. However, that was a good success, the charity live stream. Awesome. Thanks to everyone who turned up. Thanks to everyone, extra special thanks to everyone who donated, and extra special thanks to everyone who joined me in the little War Thunder Battle Royale we had at the end there. Loads of fun. Even though we had to, sort of do it twice because it, wouldn't stream properly the first time. But yeah, I know that was good fun. I'm probably going to do some more of those subscriber custom battles in the future. Actually, probably won't stream them. Well, I might stream them if there's an interest in it, but I probably won't stream them just because it'd be easier. If I wasn't streaming it, I could have hosted it. So myself, which would have been a lot easier. I'm probably going to do some more of those in the future and record them, and I'll upload them as, it's part of this playlist probably. So yeah, if you've got War Thunder, then be on the lookout, because at some point I'll put up a video announcing that I'm going to do a subscriber battle, where basically all of you can come along and fight each other, and I will join in, and we'll have tons of fun. So anyway, moving on. It's been a while since I did one of these videos, and this time I'm going to be talking about a completely different topic to the last couple. Last 1, 2, 3 videos we've done, I was talking about predominantly fighter aircraft. They're by far probably the most popular sort of aircraft in this game for people to fly. However, they are by no means the only aircraft in the game. And in fact, they probably only account for about half the aircraft in the game, because you've also got other types of aircraft like attackers, dive bombers, light bombers, naval bombers, torpedo bombers, all sorts of stuff. And in this video I'm going to be covering some of those, the ground attack aircraft, or surface attack aircraft in War Thunder, who are in many ways actually very important, because you get a lot of ground strike missions in this game, as you've probably seen already, where you win by destroying all the ground targets, and there's no more efficient way of destroying ground targets than with a ground attack aircraft, obviously. In fact, there are some ground targets on those missions, like bunkers for instance, or heavy tanks, which you can only destroy if you're flying a bomber, because you're the only guy with the bombs big enough to blow them up. You'll even get some maps where you have ships, or even aircraft carriers that need to be destroyed, which you'll need to use things like torpedoes and big 4,000-pound bombs on, and stuff like that. So bombers are important, is what I'm trying to say, basically. Are they terrifically well balanced in this game versus all the other human-controlled fighter planes? Not tremendously, but that's something I'll get onto a bit later. So yeah, bombers. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to you a bit about bombers, go through all the different tech trees, show you what different types of bombers the different nations have available, and after that I'm going to jump into some bombers, and we're going to go up and fly them around and drop some bombs on things and have a bit of a lark, basically. So yeah, right. Well, in fact, I think I'll put a little annotation, if I remember to, up the top, which will allow you to skip to the action, as it were. But for the rest of you who want to have a look at these tech trees and stuff with me, then by all means stay. Right, okay, so if that lot have gone skipped through via the annotation, it's just us lot left now. So, and I'm going to presume you guys maybe haven't played the game very much, or are looking for tips and that sort of thing, you just want to have a look at the different bombers. Well, okie doke, well, we'll start over here at the far left on the American tech tree. Now, you see, I've already got a few bombers set up here. I've currently got my B-25J1 Mitchell. I love this aircraft. The Mitchells are awesome. Twin-engine medium bombers, decent bomb load, quite well defended, quite tough, pretty fast in a dive, and just generally pretty awesome. They also have forward-firing armament, as you can see with these machine guns, in case they need to strafe some ground targets themselves. Pretty great, honestly. I've seen a couple of these in real life, flying and on the ground. Really cool aircraft. you may recognise them because they were famous for taking part in the Doolittle raid, which was the first air raid on the Japanese home islands by the Americans. They got a bunch of Mitchells like this, put them on an aircraft carrier of all things, and had them take off on an aircraft carrier and bomb the Japanese mainland as retaliation for Pearl Harbor. Big success from a morale standpoint and a propaganda standpoint, although honestly, in all fairness, the raid itself was a bit of a disaster for all those who took part in it. Most of the planes were either shot down or ditched in the sea or had to land in China. So, because they couldn't land back on the aircraft carrier, it was simply impossible. Too big. They didn't have and obviously a B-25 Mitchell does not have any sort of arrestor hook, which is what you use to land on an aircraft carrier with. So these guys had to just basically drop their bombs over Japan and then figure out their own way home, basically. So there you go. Great planes, though. These are your average kind of medium bombers in the game. This is what most of the actual bombers are like. You know, two engines, decent bomb load, a bunch of gunners. This is kind of like this is almost like the template upon which all other bombers are based on, really. It's just the classic design. I've got two of these. Another one, a B-25J-20. Seems to be... it's taking its sweet time loading, but there we go. Seems to be almost identical other than the paint job to the other one. However, it is a higher rank, so obviously there's got to be some difference. I just haven't figured out what it is yet. So I've got that. Those are your actual bombers. I've also got things like this. The TBF-1C. The Avenger. This thing is used as a level bomber, I think a dive bomber as well, but predominantly it's actually a torpedo bomber. The Americans used these during the Battle of Midway as torpedo bombers when they tried to sink the Japanese carriers. The Avenger is interesting, actually, because it has two gun turrets, unlike most aircraft of this type. There's one up here, which is quite obvious, this one here. It also has a little one down there in the belly. So there you go. But historically the Avenger was pretty awful. Loads of these things got shot down. They're a bit of a death trap for all involved, especially during the Battle of Midway. The Battle of Midway, in fact, was generally won. Like, the Americans sunk the Japanese carriers, not using the Avenger torpedo bomber, but they did it using the Ep.3 dive bomber, also another carrier-based aircraft. A dive bomber. Probably the best dive bomber of the entirety of World War II, in all fairness, actually, was this thing. The pilots absolutely loved them. They had pretty good rear armament, 250 caliber machine guns, I believe. Decent frontal armament, another 250 caliber machine guns. They're just fast and just agile enough, these things were, to actually, take on enemy Japanese aircraft who were attacking them. There's one famous example of a American pilot flying an SBD. I forget his name, unfortunately, but he managed to, in one encounter, shoot down two Japanese Zeros, and he cut the wing off a third one using the tip of his own wing. Cut it clean off, sent the guy crashing down into the sea. Absolutely remarkable. These planes were much loved by their crews, like I said, although they were eventually replaced, I think, by the Helldiver. Although the Army kept using these, and the Marines kept using these under a different name, which was the A-24 Banshee, I believe they codenamed them, but it was the same aircraft, basically. Good plane in War Thunder as well. I'm quite fond of my SBD. I've got more air kills than you would think in this thing, actually, including ground kills. Much better than, say, for example, the German Stuka. If I can find one. Here we go. Much better than the German Stuka, for the simple reason that it isn't a slow, unmaneuverable piece of crap that is easily destroyed. So there you go. Pardon me a second while I just lower the volume on my headset. It's a bit loud. So anyway, the Americans, they get all sorts of bombers. These guys love that. When you want to go big, heavy bombers, the Americans are kind of the go-to people for this sort of thing, because they just have the best ones, hands down. One of the other cool things about the Americans, sorry, I'm fluffing up my speech a bit today. I don't know why, but anyway, more than usual, I mean. The cool thing about the Americans is that a lot of their planes, their fighter planes, can actually carry bombs and double up as ground attack aircraft, which is pretty amazing and awesome, generally speaking. So that's a little quirk of the American tech tree you might want to be aware of. But the main attraction as far as bombers go with the Americans, and this is the reason I started playing as the Americans, because I don't really like the American fighter aircraft that much, but I do love their bombers, and, well, you know, I think it kind of speaks for itself, really, doesn't it? Look, oh, such a pretty aeroplane. In spite of being so big, it's just, it's achingly beautiful. B-17, such a magnificent aircraft. I love these things. The Americans, lucky bastards, get 3 of these. They get this one, the B-17E. They get the B-17E late, which is pretty much exactly the same, except it does a slightly different paint job, I believe. And they get my personal favourite, which is the B-17G. Yeah, with the silver fuselage and the chin turret as well. So awesome planes. The Americans get a whole bunch of these. They're absurdly well armed, these things. They have a ridiculous amount of gunners on them. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Am I missing any? Possibly. I count 8 there so far. Oh no, 9. There we go. 9, as far as I can tell. 9 gun positions. Slightly absurd, but there it is. Ridiculously well defended. Really tough. It takes a lot to bring down a B-17 in this game. I saw one of these eat up, just devour like an entire magazine of 4x 20mm cannon fire from my Typhoon once. I had to reload my goddamn guns before I had to come around for a second pass and try and shoot one of these buggers down. So they are really tough. And they have an excellent bomb load as well. They have a bomb load, I think a maximum bomb load of 8,000 pound bombs. So these can wreck airfields as well. Let's just destroy little ground targets. Awesome aircraft. Brilliant, 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 brilliant. Can't get enough of these things. Cannot wait until I unlock one of them. So yeah, like I said, those are the main attraction for the Americans. They also have the B-24D Liberator, which is pretty much very similar statistically. I personally don't think it looks as pretty. But it's still nice. It's still nice. But again, very big. I've seen one of these in real life as well. Sadly not flying. I don't know if there even are any Liberators left flying today, but nevertheless, pretty cool aircraft. That's the highest tier one they've got. That's a rank 15, the B-24 Liberator. Moving on, you've got the Germans, who are really more about their ground attack aircraft than the Americans. The Americans have the ground attack aircraft, but they're mostly just sort of their late ground attack aircraft. They don't have any. They just have stuff like the P-47 Thunderbolt, which can be equipped with, you know, bombs and things and used as a ground attack aircraft, as it was historically. But other than that, they're real ground attack aircraft like the SBD and the TBF-1 that finishes at rank 5, and they don't get anything else after that, I don't think. So, you know, there you go. That's all you've got as far as they're concerned. The Germans, on the other hand, they have lots of things. They've got a bunch of bombers. They've got a couple of bombers in there. In fact, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 versions of the S-79 Sparviero, which is an Italian bomber. Ridiculous. You could have an entire crew selection just consisting of F-79s in this game if you really wanted to. Not bad bombers from what I've heard. Quite fast, I believe. Crazy looking camo schemes, but yeah, I've never actually flown one of these things. I've not gone down the Italian tech tree at all, I'm afraid. I probably should really at some point, but these things cost credits, and I'm saving up for other things, you know. But yeah, these are apparently quite fast, and generally you see these around every now and again. They're not unpopular planes, it has to be said. So there you go. The Germans also get, well, again, like the Americans, a lot of their fighters can carry bombs. The Messerschmitts can carry bombs. The Focke-Wulfs, I believe, can carry bombs. At least some of them can. You also have this entire tree here, which consists of heavy fighters / bombers. A lot of these are actually night fighters, like these Me-410s and these Dornier 17s, but they're also good ground attack aircraft on the basis that they can carry some bombs, and they do have lots of heavy cannons, which you can use to take out light tanks with and stuff. So that's worth bearing in mind, including, I think, one of these ME410s has it has a 50mm cannon on the front of it, which you could knock out tanks with all day long. So there you go. Only has 21 rounds of ammo, though, so beware. They also have an entire tech tree line devoted pretty much to just the Stukas, which are the iconic German dive bombers of the Second World War. I've got almost all of them unlocked so far. I like Stukas, even though they're pretty shit, honestly, in this game. Historically, these things were supposed to fly in formations, and they would altogether attack a single ground target, like a convoy or something like that, to do maximum damage. Whereas, in this game that never really happens, because you're just pretty much left to your own devices, and therefore you find yourself getting shot down quite a lot. So they're not massively effective, these things, but the Germans get lots of them, so that's worth bearing in mind. They also have this thing, the Henschel 129B, which remains a mystery to me, really, because statistically it's horrendous, from what I can tell, but it's a very high rank aircraft, so there must be something about it that I'm not getting, that I'm not understanding. But anyway, there it is. That's another ground attack aircraft. They also get quite a few bombers. They have the Heinkel 111, that's their lowest ranking proper medium bomber, this thing. Not bad, pretty tough, decent-ish bomb load. You then go to the Junkers 88, which is better, honestly. It has similar bomb load, but it's much faster, more manoeuvrable and that sort of thing. Had a lot of fun in historical battles with this thing. Then you get the HE-111H6. I'm going to go on an unlocking spree with all these Heinkels, actually, at some point, because I do want them. The HE-111H6, which is a lot like the original HE-111, except it has a much better payload. This one does. Much, much better payload. It can carry, maximum of 2,000 kilogram bombs, which are insanely big, and a 250 kilogram bomb, which is way more than the original can carry. So these are fairly good. You see these around every now and again, they're pretty tough to kill, these things. They really are. After those, you've got another one, another H-16, which is basically similar, except it has a god-awful camouflage scheme from the Eastern Front. Make of it what you will. I don't like it at all. I think it looks horrible. Then they get a whole bunch of, let's see, 4 Dornier 217 bombers, which, they're very strange looking things. Look at that nose, it's very odd. Fairly effective, though, from what I've heard. And then at the bottom they get the Arado 234 jet bomber, which is honestly a bit of a joke, because it doesn't have any frontal armament, it doesn't have a gunner or anything like that. It's just and it's not very fast for a jet either. The Germans, I think, mainly use these things for reconnaissance, so anything that in real life is used for reconnaissance, it probably is going to suck in this game. But here it is regardless. Make of it what you will. It looks kind of nice, I suppose. I kind of dig that green and brown camo scheme. But there you go. The only jet bomber in the game, as far as I'm aware. And that's about it for these guys. Oops, I skipped the Russians. How dare I? The Russians. They get loads of bombers, the Russians do, but that's just because they're the Russians and they get loads of aircraft in general, because they have the most, their tech tree is the biggest. They get these SB whatevers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these bloody things. Like I said, they've got a lot of bombers. These things are interesting. They're kind of light medium bombers, but I think a lot of them double up as dive bombers as well. Something you will find with the Russian bombs is that they're, one, incredibly durable, and two, they're actually quite maneuverable. This thing has a turn time of 25.8 seconds in theory, but I've seen these things out-turn Spitfires before. It's a bit nonsensical and a bit ridiculous, and could probably do with some rebalancing, but it's something worth bearing in mind if you plan to play as the Russians. For example, goodness me, I didn't mean to do that, terribly embarrassing. They have the IL-4, which is probably my favourite Russian bomber at the minute. This thing I once dogfighted, and I kid you not, I dogfighted with an F4U Corsair in this thing once, and I managed to outturn him, and I had just had my nose gunner spray him with bullets until I ran out. Poor guy, honestly, he was just crapping himself. He was going left and right all over the place. He couldn't shake me no matter what he did, because Corsairs in this game unfortunately cannot turn for shit. Yeah, the most unmaneuverable fighter plane in the game, quite possibly. But yeah, these things are quite good. Decent bomb load, quite fast. Honestly, probably the best medium bomber I have flown in to date, really. And that's saying something considering I have both the Mitchells unlocked. Very good plane, very good plane. And yeah, so the Russians also get this, the AR-2, which I've also unlocked. I think this is the dive bomber. It's pretty much just a variation on these old SB-2s. Yeah, and then they get the Yer-2s, a whole buttload of them, TU-2s, yeah, loads of stuff. I've not had a chance to play around with a lot of it yet, I'm afraid. They also get these PE-3s, PE-2s. I have a PE-2, but it was a gift aircraft, so but those are also good ground attack aircraft, dive bombers, that sort of thing. And then you get the pride and joy of the Russians. Well, after you've worked your way through the BB-1 and all three of these Su-2 light bombers, which look like this, you finally get to the first of the 3 IL-2 Sturmovix in this game. I only have one of these unlocked so far, but it is bloody awesome. I love these aeroplanes so bloody much. They have bombs, they have rockets, which are just kind of a staple of most of the Russian aircraft in this game, actually. They have lots of rockets. It's relatively fast once you get it going into a dive. It's an awesome aircraft. I've even got loads of air kills in this thing just because it has amazing cannons on the front of it. Really good firepower, good for shooting down bombers with, actually. You get 3 of these. You get this one, you get the IL-2M, which is the slightly more famous variant, which had a tail gunner, and the swept wings as well. I wonder why they made it with swept wings, actually. I bet there's an interesting technical reason for that, but I don't know what it is, sadly. As I've said before, Russian planes are not something I really have a lot of knowledge about. But yeah, you get this, and then you get the IL-10, which is really just another IL-2, really, but it's just a different name, which is the final version. Most crank-looking cockpit I have ever seen on an aircraft, I have to admit. But again, yeah, pretty good from what I've seen. These things like the best, as far as I'm concerned, honestly, these things are the best straight-out ground attack aircraft in the game. The Russian IL-2s, they're just bloody brilliant. They really are. So yeah, that's it for the Russians. They get loads of stuff, as I said. Then you have the British. Bit of a mixed bag, this lot. You get with the British, some of the early Hurricanes have, I think it's the Hurricane Mark II, this thing. You can actually equip it with rockets. You can give it bombs as well, as you can see here. But other than that, their fighter aircraft aren't particularly versatile. I think some of the Typhoons you can give rockets or bombs to, but I'm not sure. Not all of them can have them. But for the most part, like the Spitfires, they don't carry bombs or rockets or anything like that. They're just plain up, straight up fighter aircraft, and that's what they do best. Speaking of rockets, actually, I did forget to mention with the Russians, is that loads of their fighter aircraft get rockets. Loads of them. The Lag-3s get rockets. I'm pretty sure some of these early Yaks get rockets. The Russians love their rockets. Don't know why, they just do. But yeah, getting back to the British. Yeah, the fighter aircraft when it comes to ground attack capability is a bit limited. However, they do start off uniquely with a Tier 0 torpedo bomber in the form of the Swordfish, which is an interesting aircraft. Historically kind of cool because these were the aircraft that famously destroyed the rudder of the Bismarck, which allowed the Royal Navy to catch up to it and sink it. I'm sure if you've ever seen, I'm sure plenty of people in the UK at least have seen the film Sink the Bismarck, in which these planes featured very prominently. Pretty cool, but they're obviously biplanes, which means they're very outdated, but on the bright side they are Tier 0, so the worst thing's probably going to go up against is tier 1 aircraft. You know, mostly just other reserve biplanes. So, you know, there you go. You get that at tier 0 with the British, so you can have that even if you've not got out of reserves yet. You also get the Blenheim Mark IV and the Beaufort, which are both medium bombers, which are okay, relatively well defended for their tier. Slightly crappy bomb loads, but though, and yeah, not so wonderful really. They're okay. I've had some fun in my Blenheim, I have to admit, but they're just not that amazing. Beaufort's slightly better, mainly because the Beaufort here can actually carry torpedoes, if you wish, which is pretty cool. So it's good for taking out enemy ships as well. Then you move on to the Beaufighters, which are mostly heavy fighters, which people mostly use actually for diving in and out of dogfights with, because they've got some ridiculously powerful cannons in their noses. But you can also mount bombs and rockets on some of these things, which makes them fairly competent ground attack aircraft. Then you've got the Mosquito, which is the famous British light bomber that was incredibly fast, mainly made out of plywood. It's alright in this game. Has 4 machine guns, 4 cannons, can carry bombs. It's mostly good in historical battles of this thing. This thing generally sucks in arcade battles just because it can't go fast enough. I personally think the Mosquito is slightly too high tier for its, for its abilities. I think Gaijin really ought to lower the tier of this thing is set in. This is tier 12, which means it has to go up against Fokker Wolfs, Yak 9Ks, Yak 9Ps, Spitfire Mark 16s, all sorts of horrible stuff like that, all of which pretty much can actually catch up to the Mosquito in a dive. And obviously the Mosquito, by the time those kind of aircraft were around during World War II, the Mosquito had been phased out. It wasn't being used anymore. So I think, honestly, it's a bit unfair of Gaijin to actually shove it in with that lot in Tier 12. But other than that, especially if you're using it in historical battles, it's a really fun aircraft. So then you get the heavy bombers, or medium bombers, or whatever, which the British get. I have a bit of an issue with the British line of medium heavy bombers. They have 1, 2, 3, 4 Wellingtons. I've unlocked 2 of them. The Wellingtons are okay for the simple reason that they can carry one 4,000-pound bomb. This one's actually equipped with torpedoes at the minute for some silly reason, but they can carry the 4,000-pound cookie bomb, as I believe they were referred to by the RAF. These weird-looking things. It looks like a big barrel of some kind. Look, doesn't look like an ordinary bomb at all, but these things are massive. They're good for wrecking airfields with, and big clusters of enemy tanks and things. So that's the one bright side to them. The downside is that all 4 variants of the bloody Wellington are kind of awful in terms of their durability. These things are mostly made of canvas and wood, I believe. Historically, they were awful. They were absolute death traps. The RAF lost loads of these things early in the war. They were mostly relegated to training duties and sort of coastal command stuff by the time the war really got started, and the British started using much better bombers. But unfortunately, you have to work through 4 of the bloody things in War Thunder before you actually get to the one British bomber that's actually fairly good, which is the Lancaster. Which obviously is a very famous aircraft. It took part in the Dam Buster raid. I need to say no more. It's one of my favourite World War II aircraft. It's again like the B-17, bloody pretty looking. I think it might possibly have the biggest bomb load in the game. However, it's worth pointing out that the bomb load of the Lancaster in this game is actually almost about half the size of its bomb load in real life. For some reason, Gaijin have not given the Lancaster its historical payload, and that's a bit annoying. At least I'm told it's very annoying. I've not actually unlocked the Lancaster yet, but from what I've heard from people who do fly this thing, they're a bit annoyed about that, because to begin with, this is a night bomber. Its main defense is actually stealth. There's a reason that half the thing is painted black, after all, and doesn't have half as many guns as the B-17. However, most of the time you don't get night battles in War Thunder, so you already have that disadvantage. You don't have the advantage of stealth that comes with a night battle. But Gaijin didn't feel that it was necessary to give you the historical payload for this thing to at least somewhat make up for that little deficiency. So, this is unfortunately the best it gets for the British in terms of pure bombers, and it's not as amazing as I wish it could be, sadly. So, which is a real bloody shame, since the British historically made huge advances in the field of heavy bombing. You know, the Lancaster was by no means their only heavy bomber. The British actually had the Halifax. They had two versions of the Halifax. They also had the Sterling. Two big heavy bombers with 4 engines, just like the Lancaster. They also had the Avro Manchester, a whole bunch of other aircraft. But unfortunately, they're not in the game, and the Gaijin have no intention of putting them in the game either. Gaijin, if you go on their website, you can actually see what the final release tech trees are going to look like. And the British one, the only additional bombers the British get is another type of Lancaster, and the Armstrong Whitworth Whitley, which was another plane of the same era as the Wellington, and was also equally shit as the Wellington, historically. So, I'm really disappointed with that. Major disappointed with that. Honestly, considering how many bombers guys like the Russians get, yeah, that's pretty fucking stupid as far as I'm concerned. I mean, come on, the Americans get 5 4-engine heavy bombers. 4 4-engine heavy bombers. The British get 1. And the British historically had loads of the bloody things. So, yeah, pretty miffed about that. But anyway, the final tech tree, it causes the Japanese, which have probably some of the worst bombers in the game, honestly. Well, not really the worst. I mean, they start off with, in terms of ground attack aircraft, not so great at all. Most of these fighter planes you cannot use for ground attack at all. They do have these Ki-45s, which are really just high-altitude heavy fighters used for killing bombers, where they're not really ground attack aircraft. First proper bomber they get, if you want to call it that, is this massive H6K, sorry, flying boat. 4-engine flying boat. It's massive, isn't it? It has huge sticks of bombs attached under here, look. Under the wings and all that scaffolding. It's got loads of, quite a few guns on it. It also has, and this is probably a serious big feature of actually some of the Japanese bombers, is that it has I think it's a 30mm cannon in the back and rear tail turret here. 30mm cannon, that's ridiculous. That will completely destroy anyone trying to come up on your tail. So, you know, just a word of warning, try not to attack Japanese bombers from the rear. It won't end well. Especially if the pilot of the thing is using manual gunner control. If he's manually controlling those guns himself, you're a dead duck, unfortunately. So yeah, other than the fact that it looks like a giant green banana with a wing attached, it's not a bad plane at all. But, like most of the Japanese bombers in this game, it has a shitty bomb load. Like, really, really rubbish bomb load. After that, you get... Oh, before that, sorry, you do get the D3A1 Val dive bomber, which is okay-ish, I guess. I've not tried it out myself, really, actually. But, yeah, these things attacked at Pearl Harbor, I believe. They're carrier-based aircraft. You've probably seen them before, honestly. So they're okay. Not as good as the SBD, really, but they're okay. Then after that and the H6K, apologies. For some reason I'm finding that really difficult to say today. You get the B5N2, which is another dive bomber / light level bomber, which is pretty crap, honestly. They're relatively tough, but they have a rubbish rear machine gun, and unique to pretty much all the dive bombers in this game, they actually have no frontal armament at all. There are no frontal machine guns on this thing at all. Anyway, you're pretty much defenseless, other than this, you know, this rear turret thing here. So it's a pretty crap attack aircraft. Again, NAF bomb load like usual. Then you get the G4M1 Betty, which is again not bad. A bit like the H6K. It's got a big old cannon in the rear here, and this tail gunner turret thing here. Waist gunners, gunner in the top there. I don't think it has a belly gun. No, it doesn't. Does it perhaps have a... Yeah, it does have a gun in the nose, however. You could do worse, really, for this tier and this type of bomber. But not amazing, because again, it has a pretty shitty bomb load. Maximum, it can carry 1,000 kilogram bomb, which is okay, but it's not the best you can get, really, honestly. Still, I'd rather fly one of these things than a Wellington. I'll say that much, frankly. So anyway, it does have the benefit of being made of metal and not canvas and wood. Let's give it credit where credit is due. Then after that, you get a whole bunch. You have 4 Ki-49s, pardon me, which are these things, which are lighter, faster bombers that the Japanese get, which again I think are pretty shit bomb loads. Yeah, 1,000 kilogram bomb, but are still pretty well defended. You've got the big ass gun in the back. You have this big weird open like thing here. You've got a waist gunner there, a waist gunner there. You've got a gunner in the front, I believe. Yeah, okay, not bad. Kind of like the Betty, really, just much faster. And you do get 4 of these as well. So yeah, not bad. Again, probably better than the Wellington. Would rather be flying this than a Wellington. So again, credit where credit's due. It's far from the worst bomber in the game. Oh, it also appears to have a belly gun as well, this one. Ah, look at that. See, just poking out the bottom there. So that's something to bear in mind too. So again, not terrible, not amazing. Then you have... Is that it for them? Oh no, it's not it for the Japanese, actually, is it at all? You also then, after that, you get the G5N1 Shinzan, which is a big 4-engined Japanese bomber. This thing. Which, again, has a very good rear gun. Same attributes as most of the other Japanese bombers. However, I'm told this thing doesn't fly very well. It's really, really awkward to try and maneuver around, like more so than you'd expect from a 4-engined bomber. I should make that clear. And it also has a really crap bomb load compared to the other 4-engine bombers. Anyway, historically, the reason for it having a crap bomb load is because these things had to fly halfway across the Pacific to actually drop their bombs, and in order for them to be able to get there and back and still have fuel, they weren't able to carry big bomb loads. So unlike the Lancaster, which basically just had to fly across Europe, which is a really tiny distance when you think about it compared to the Pacific, these things couldn't carry many bombs. So yeah, you have this, and then after that you have the G8N1 Renzan, which is the final bomber that the Japanese get, another 4-engined one. I'm convinced, right? I know nothing about this aircraft at all whatsoever. It was only recently that I found out the Japanese even made 4-engine bombers, frankly. But I am fairly convinced what must have happened with this aircraft is that the Japanese got their hands on a captured B-17 and then set about making their own cheap knockoff, because that is exactly what it looks like. It's got that gun at the back at the top there, the bubble turret at the top there. It's got the nose gunners, it's got the waist gunners in the same position, it's got the belly gun, it's got a remarkably similar looking rear gun here. Yeah, it's the tail even looks quite similar. It's I think it's fairly obvious what happened with this aircraft. So yeah, I know nothing about this, even how it performs in game. It can carry 3,000 kilogram bombs, which is not amazing considering the I believe the Lancaster can carry 8 of those things. So there you go. Or was that 1,000-pound bombs, which is a lot less than 1,000 kilograms. Oh, I don't know. Anyway, yeah. So that's it. That's all the bombers in the game. I'm still fairly convinced, when it comes to ground attack aircraft, the Russians win, hands down, with their Sturmoviks and their PE-2s and PE-3s and their AR-2s and their SBs. And when it comes to big, heavy 4-engine bombers, the Americans win with their B-17s. So there you go. If you want to be doing lots of bombing, I think those are the tech trees you really want to be paying attention to. So, anyway, enough of that waffling. That probably took a long time, and I apologise. Hopefully, at least you found it helpful. Right, okay, I had a small break there, and we're back. And now, it's time to actually do some bombing and stuff, and blowing up some ground targets, and things like that. Ground aircraft. What was earth was my mouth thinking when it tried to say that? Anyway, I'm going to be taking up my Americans, just because I have the most of their kind of bombers and things unlocked at this point. That sort of thing. For now, anyway, I might do another match in a different Air Force, just so you can get an idea of what they're like and that sort of thing. But yeah, I'm going to be going up my Americans. I'm going to be taking the SBD-3, I'm going to be taking my TBF-1 Avenger. I'm going to be taking my B-25J1, and I'm going to be taking my B-25J20 as well, both of which refuse to load in a prompt and efficient manner. Thank you. Anyway, so there you go. That's what I'm going to be taking up. I'll also be taking my P-47s and my F4U Corsair, but I'm not going to be using them really. So yeah, hopefully we'll actually get a ground strike map. That would be the hilarious thing, really, wouldn't it? The game will just sort of, I'll hit 2 battle, and the game will shove me into a air domination map. Bet you anything that's what's going to happen now. So anyway, let's go to battle. Joining game. That was pretty speedy for once. Ground Strike Cliff Coast, good. Alright, this is brilliant actually, because it's got ships on it, and it's got ground targets, it's got the works, this one. So what I'm going to do, I think, is, first of all, I think I'm going to jump into my SBD3 by the looks of things. I think that's what's going to happen here. Bomb load, 200-pound bombs and a 1,000-pound bomb. Not amazing, but it's good considering this aircraft is still fairly agile and fast and all that sort of thing. This is an American plane, so it does have combat flaps, which will help me get a little bit extra lift when I'm climbing up like this. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm used to playing the British, and a lot of the British fighter planes, in fact almost all of them, don't get combat flaps. So yeah, awesome roll rate on this thing as well, look at that. Left to right, left to right. So yeah, gonna get a bit of altitude, just so I can be above anything else that is decided it's going to climb up. I am technically speaking a bomber, so I've already started up above most of the enemy fighters, but as you can see, look, there's a cheeky little BF-109 over there. He's probably climbing up thinking to himself, I think I shall dine on some bomber pilots today. You will probably quickly learn by watching this, unless I get very lucky, that being a bomber pilot in War Thunder is not a very glamorous job. And quite often it can end in frustration and failure because of individuals like that over there. Her maneuver, he is going straight for that poor TU-2 over there, Count Gustav. He's a dead duck, quite possibly, I think. Yeah, unfortunately this is quite a high tier game because of my P-47s and my, oh look who's come to say hello. Because of my P-47s and my B-25J20 Mitchell, we've been shoved into quite a high tier game, and therefore we're going to encounter lots and lots of BF-109s like this who can climb very high and very fast, and are very good at killing bombers. So I'm going to say screw this guy, even though he's probably going to shoot us down, quite frankly, and I'm going to see if I can't just drop a few bombs on some tanks before we die. Not a good start, honestly. I was hoping we'd be able to kill something before this happened, but never mind. Yeah, I think he's fairly certain he's going for us. Yep, here he comes. He's got cannons on that thing, so we do have the slight advantage of going into the dive before him. I'm going to waggle around a bit here, so if I can put off his gun aiming. Don't appear to be doing a tremendously good job, but never mind. Bombs away. Surface unit destroyed. Cracking good job, old fellow. Right, okay. Since we're basically dead now, because that BF-109 is going to come and kill us as soon as he gets the opportunity, we might as well go back round and strafe a few things before we get killed, like this armoured car over here. Yeah, I think he's coming for us. Let's see if we can kill this armoured car. Oh, no. We got killed by a different BF-109. Oh dear. Never mind. Next, I'm going to jump in this TBF-1 Avenger. Unfortunately, I don't have the torpedoes unlocked for this bloody thing. If indeed you can get torpedoes in this game. I would think so, since it was a torpedo bomber, but yeah, you never know. So we can't actually torpedo some enemy ships, but I can dive bomb a few of them. So I think that's what I'll try and do. Since all the BF-109 seem to be hanging around over there, I think I'll head over this way and see if we can catch a few enemy ships. Drop a few bombs directly on top of a destroyer, I could probably take it out, I think. Get a nice bit of XP for that. This is, outside of the tutorials, I think the first time I've flown the Avenger. Should be interesting. I wonder what the cockpit looks like if it's got a view. Yeah, it does have a cockpit view. Nice. Quite a spacious looking cockpit, actually. Not bad. So Wellington over there, who's got one of our BF-109s on him, and he's probably swearing and cursing. It's actually a captured Wellington. That's what the little Maltese cross... Sorry, not... Is it a Maltese cross? Anyway, whatever. One of those little Balkankreuz next to it. Its name. Don't you notice it's actually a captured aircraft? Because you get a few premium planes in this game which are actually captured versions of planes that other air forces usually use. So, yeah. That'll be a captured German Wellington down there, who amazingly is not dead yet, although I think he's about to die because I think he's trailing smoke and he's on fire, so... Poor bugger. Almost feel sorry for him, actually, really. I think he might be going for one of our ships, trying to get one of them before he dies, but I don't think he's going to manage it. Unless everyone behind him manages to overshoot him somehow. Oh, another engine on fire. And I think he's dead meat. I think he might have managed to drop a torpedo, though. That might have been what he was up to. Because Wellingtons can actually carry torpedoes, believe it or not. They do fulfill a role as torpedo bomber. In fact, they can carry 2 torpedoes, so you can do some significant damage to some really heavy warships with those things. Of course, the problem with the torpedo bomber is that you have to fly low and straight for a long time, which in this game will, more times than not, get you killed. Because you can see there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 enemy fighters on him that whole time. Apparently our team saw fit to send 5 enemy fighters, well, sorry, not enemy fighters, but 5 fighters after a single Wellington, because apparently that was necessary. Ugh, idiots. At least on the bright side, our bombers, unlike me, seem to be doing a decent job with things. They've got 22 ground targets left, we have 32, so we are winning. Right, let's do this. Yeah, I don't think this is a dive bomber, because as you can see, my reticle there has gone, you know... Well, it's basically disappeared. That doesn't normally happen with dive bombers. It actually gets more accurate the further down you're actually pointed, but never mind. Drop our bombs, see if any of them hit. I don't think any of them did. Well, isn't that wonderful? We've now got to wait for 1 minute, 8 to 10 seconds for those bombs to come back and reload. It's absurd, I know, but it's arcade, and that's how it works in arcade. In a historical battle... I don't know what I'm doing, you can't strafe a destroyer. In a historical battle, you'd actually have to go back to base, land, and get a new fresh bomb load before taking off again, and so on and so forth. It's a bit of a pain in the bum, frankly, sometimes, but... Yeah, what can you do? Oh, we've got an F4U Corsair coming in for us. Got a friendly B-25 up there, but he's not going to help us. Not a chance in hell of that, I don't think. Best I can do, probably, is to lure him back to our fighters. However, I don't think he wants to let that happen if he can help it. However, silly bugger has completely overshot me. And believe it or not, a TBF-1 Avenger can outturn a Corsair, because as I've said before, Corsairs cannot turn for shit. So this guy has unbelievably got himself into a particularly bad position. And our bombs have actually reloaded as well, but unfortunately we have other problems right now. And we just got an air kill and an Avenger. Oh my goodness. Well, there we go. Cocky fighter pilots, eh? What can you do with them? Well, you can shoot them down, apparently. That's what you can do. Oh heck, we've got a Spitfire coming in. Now I really am dead. Best I can do is probably ditch these bombs on... What the hell is that? Heavy cruiser? No, sod that! I'm bombing a destroyer. At least I actually have a chance of destroying a destroyer. Oh, someone else is after us. And yeah, it was a Hellcat. Did he seriously just... Did he ram me? I don't think he did, but I think he might have done. Who knows? Right, well, that's both our ground attack aircraft gone. Got more than our money's worth out of the Avenger, though. Good grief. Right, let's jump into the B-25J1. It's just got the best bomb load of the lot so far, so let's do this. Right, first thing... Oh my goodness, a Focke-Wulf 190, really? He's getting further away from us though, so I think he might be going for Count Gustav and his IL-4 up there. So, I'll have to show you some lower tier bomber games really, because the higher up in the tiers you go, you will find that the poor old bombers really do get the shorter end of the stick. They get tougher and they get bigger, but they also have to fight off some really nasty little bastards like the later BF-109s, the Focke-Wulfs, all that kind of stuff. And the German dedicated night fighters as well, which are pretty much specifically designed for killing bombers. So stuff like the Dornier 17 night fighters, the ME-410s, that sort of thing. When you get lower tier games though in bombers, which is what I've been doing with my Russian bombers quite a bit lately, you generally have a more free hand to operate, because people generally don't climb up nice and high to get you, because they just can't. In theory they could climb to get you, but the time it would take to climb to get you, they by then could have just already killed a shit ton of other fighters. So looks like this BF-109 thinks he's clever. He might well kill me here, but I don't give a damn. No, he's not that stupid. He's damaged one of our engines, but fuck him, frankly. There's a bunch of bombers, ground targets down there that need killing. I'm going into a dive after them. He'll be coming back round in a minute, possibly, but yeah, he did break at the last second there. He wasn't quite stupid enough to get into a head-on with me. My 450 caliber machine guns. Oh boy, oh boy! Ditch the bombs, ditch them all. Off they go. I think we're probably quite dead. I can't turn to the left properly because, hey, we've got some ground kills, awesome. My wings have been shot to shit because, I don't know, it's probably some arsehole. Yeah, it's Focke-Wulf 190, of course. Well, screw you, matey. Screw you and your little doggy too. Yeah, he's not sticking around to get shot by our gunners while we go down. There we go, into a cliff face. As I said, the life of the bomber is not glamorous. It is very frustrating. However, when you get a good game in a bomber, it's actually a lot of fun sometimes. It's quite satisfying blowing up all those ground targets. But unfortunately, in this particular game, we seem to be plagued by BF-109s and Focke-Wulfs, which are all very good at climbing up high and killing bombers. So it's a bit sad, really. It's awfully sad. One alternative tactic, and this is something a lot of people in A20s do, A20 Havocs, that you'll see in the lower end games, is that you go into a dive on a target kind of like I did just there, but you do it with that before someone's actually on your tail. And by the time you come out of the dive, you're going so fast that most of the enemy fighters down below can't actually catch you. So that gives you plenty of time to get clear and then eventually start climbing again and do it all over again. But it's a very slow process, unfortunately. I prefer, personally, to just get to such a high altitude that the enemy fighters don't bother coming after me, because they don't see that it's worth the effort. But unfortunately in games like this, where you've got lots of good climbing aircraft like the BF-109s, that's easier said than done. Still got some enemy tanks and stuff down there that need killing. In fact, I think, yeah, they've only got 4 ground targets left, the enemy, so what I'm going to do... Oh, speaking of A20s, there's one just over there, an enemy one. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go into that dive, pick up shit tons of speed. I'm going to try and drop some bombs on these last few tanks. Heavy tank, 2 armoured cars. Let's go for the heavy tank, since anyone with a machine gun could kill an armoured car, but... Heavy tank? No, we'll have to deal with him. Right, let's see if that did the trick. It did indeed. Excellent. We've picked up someone on our tail, unfortunately. But we did our job. Yeah, we picked up a BF-109. Yeah, screw you, man. Get lucky and kill his pilot, perhaps. Nope. gun's overheated. Let's see if we can go back round before we get shot down. They've only got a couple of ground targets left. Those two over there. Heavy tank and that armoured car. Oh god, there are bits of us falling off all over the place. Yep, we're dead. And off comes the wing. Yeah. Fighters love an easy kill in this game, and nothing is easier than a big fat bomber. Well, to them anyway. That's it, I'm afraid. I suppose I've got... Maybe I've got some... Can I put some bombs on this? Strap some bombs to one of my P-47s? I believe I can. Let's have a 500-pound bomb on this Thunderbolt. See if we can go get... Oh, that's it. It's all over. We won. We killed the last ground target. Hooray. Oh, there you go. That was me mucking about some bombers. Oh dear. Let's see if I can try another match. I'm going to give that another go. Yep. Oh, what did we get for that? Fair amount of XP, actually. Fair amount of credits. Could have done worse. We got some upgrades for our Mitchell and our Avenger. I'm not bloody surprised since we got an air kill on the Avenger. That Corsair pilot must have felt so stupid. Oh dear. Anyway. Okay. So let's try the Russians out. Okay, so I've got mostly fighters at the minute. I've got my IL-2, fantastic ground attack aircraft, and I've got my IL-4, which is a pretty excellent bomber. Let's see if we can't swap a few of these out. And thank you very much, police sirens outside. Your guest appearance on this video is highly appreciated. Not. I have this AR-2, light bomber / dive bomber. Might be worth a go. Actually, these are pretty fun to fly, these things. I might swap that in somewhere. Who can we ditch? I suppose I could get rid of my MiG. Loath to do it because I love my MiG. I really do. I think it's an amazing little plane, but it'll have to go. Unfortunately. Let's have instead... not the SB2M. That's pretty rubbish, honestly. The AR-2. There we go. So we've got the IL-4, the AR-2, the IL-2. Right, I'm going to jump into a battle now. I'll cut this out because it might take a little while for me to join one, but yeah, so hold on. Alright, so the game is trolling me and it gave me a domination map. However, this particular map is okay because it allows me to demonstrate one of my planes. And that one of my planes is this, the IL-2 Sturmovik. It is equipped with 8 132mm rockets, 450kg bombs. Let's do this. This particular map, even though it's a domination map, as you can see, both the airfields start off with a big clump of ground targets right in front of them, and those are what I'm headed for. So yeah, we've got the rockets, we've got the bombs. Let's go make a mess of some ground targets. Some other people have probably got the similar idea. You usually do on this map. What is that? Is that Falco? Oh, it's a biplane. God bless. Yeah, we've got a Dornier 17 over there. He's probably got the same idea. An SB2M up there. Let's do this. We seem to be at the front though, so that's always good. Then a bunch of heavy tanks, anti-aircraft. Let's just go and make a general mess of it all. Medium tanks as well, eh? I've not tried out 132mm rockets before. I have no idea if they're any good. Anyway, I'm going to do this as a classic Sturmovik way, where we actually don't strafe our targets head on, we actually dive on them. Like so, although that's not going to help anyone, so... Oh, excellent! We've got some ground targets with that burst of rockets. Open our combat flats up, come back round. I think I'll start dropping some bombs this time. Oh, let's strafe a few bits of AA. Drop a bomb. Took a lot of hits from that AI then, actually. A lot of hits. Uncomfortable number of hits, in fact. Never mind. The Sturmovik is quite hardy. It's very, very strongly built. It is Russian, after all. So, let's go back round and bomb a couple more tanks. Oh dear. That was abysmal. I didn't get a single thing. We have one bomb left before we have to wait till they reload again. Our compadres here seem to have made short work of most of the AA, which is the stuff that's actually you're able to machine gun. So let's make sure we get at least one of these guys. There we go, one less tank. And we've got our rockets back, so I'm going to see if I can use some 132mm rockets on tanks. The little rockets you get to begin with this thing aren't very good at all. You can't kill tanks with them, but... Oh look! You can kill tanks with rockets now. 132mm rockets for the win. I've got 2 left. And we've got some enemy fighters coming in now, so at least the others will be distracted. Ooh, very nice. Right, okay. Another 30 seconds before I get any bombs. We've got other problems now. Ooh, yes. Oh, no. Never mind. I was about to say, as you can see, the Sturmovic's actually remarkably good at killing enemy planes when you actually get them on target, but, yeah. My incompetence led me to crash and burn horribly. Right, so anyway, I'm going to quit out of this. And I normally wouldn't do this, actually, by the way, quitting out of a match halfway through like this, because it's a bit unfair to your team, but right now I need to get this video sorted. So I'm going to quit out this, I'm going to join another game when I've got a ground strike map, and I can actually show you some proper high altitude bombing. So, alright, we finally got a ground strike mission. The game saw fit to throw not 1, not 2, but 3 domination maps at me before I finally managed to get a ground strike one. Oh boy, it's not even that good a ground strike one either, but it'll have to do, unfortunately. So I'm going to jump straight into the IL-4. The one Russian medium bomber I actually have at the minute. What have we got on the other team? An IL-2, Yak-7B, Spitfire Mark II, Kitty Hawk, Beaufighter, Yak-7, sorry, not Yak-9. F4U Corsair, HE-112, Junkers 88, Mitchell, Hellcat, great. All stuff that probably won't come up to bother us at high altitude. Which is what I like to see. So there we go. Very kind of an odd looking plane this, although I'm learning to like it. Single seat bomber, by the way. Might be a big medium bomber, but it's only got one man sat in that little cockpit there. As you can see. Seems to be the case with quite a few Russian bombers, actually. Almost all the Allied bombers, and most of the German ones, have co-pilots, which decrease your likelihood of getting a pilot knocked out result, because with most bombers, you have to actually kill the pilot and the co-pilot to actually get that result, but with this thing, it doesn't look like that's the case. So yeah, it's got a few guns on it. Fairly good fast-firing Russian machine guns, so not bad armament, really, to have. It's got one weird one down here, which I assume is somehow, like, remote-controlled or what, I don't know. But it's one machine gun, as you can see, hanging down from below there. You've got this one guy in this turret here, which is actually really great. I think that might be a 12mm machine gun on the top there. I had one game today, actually, in this thing, where I was flying at fairly high altitude, and an enemy Blenheim pilot, of all things, came flying up, and he decided, you know, I'm going to go take on this IL-4, so this bloody Blenheim, of all things, another medium bomber, you know, he came flying up after me, he came flying up behind me, and stupid bastard tried to use the one little 7mm machine gun he's got on the front of his thing to try and shoot me down, whereas I was able to lay into him with this machine gun on the bottom, and then after that, this big 12mm on the top, and yeah, within about 2 seconds I set his engine on fire, and he went spiralling off into the ground, and I got an air kill in an IL-4 as a result. So yeah, don't underestimate the IL-4 at all. It's a very, very good bomber. So anyway, enough of my babbling. Let's go find some targets. There's a big old convoy of vehicles over here that looks very tasty. There's actually another one over there, I think, slightly smaller. Let's see if we can't go drop some bombs on them. Luckily, famous last words, I know, but the enemy fighters seem to be completely ignoring us. They're all interested in shooting either ground targets or, yeah, mucking about with our own fighters down below. That's what I love about these low-tier games. Everyone kind of, I don't know, I will be honest, I just generally tend to have more fun in low tier games. I don't know if it's because the players in those low tier games are less skilled, or whether it's just because players in low tier games just play differently. You know, I find in high tier games people tend to hunt in packs, which makes it quite kind of annoying sometimes. Whereas in the low tier games, you actually tend to get lots of good furball dogfights going on and stuff like that. There's a minimum of boom and zoom sort of type stuff going on, which personally I like, honestly. Right, so let's see if we can do a bit of an awkward sideways bombing run here on those guys. The entire bomb load gone. Gonna wait for another minute or so now, but in the meantime, while that's doing that, I'm gonna pull off this way, keep climbing, keep gaining some altitude. But now I can press the U key, and we can watch our bombs go down. And I think a lot of them are going to miss. That is the one downside to bombing at high altitude. Your accuracy is a bit rubbish, considering most of these ground targets are moving ones. Oh, triple strike. We got 3 of them regardless. There we go, never mind. Forget everything I said. Helps with these kind of bombers where you've got lots of little bombs as opposed to a bunch of big bombs to actually try and drop them in as tight clusters as possible. Don't spread your bombs out, because that way you've got the highest chance of actually getting some kills. So there we go, 3 ground kills. Not a bad start at all. You're never going to get a high score in a bomber. As you can see, we've got 120 points, whereas the top guy on our team has 4 air kills and 1100 points. It's just not going to happen in a bomber. And with fairly good reason. I think it's fair to say you should probably get more score by killing other human players than by dropping bombs on basically what are moving, slowly moving, cardboard targets, really. But you can still get a fair amount of XP for it, and a decent amount of credits. And I think mainly, one, you'll get the satisfaction of having contributed the most to your team's victory, but you'll also just have the general satisfaction of doing bombing. I find bombing to be a very satisfying thing to do, especially if I'm a little too tired and fed up to actually engage in any serious sort of twitchy dogfighting. I just jump in a bomber, fly to a high altitude, and then just sit there, slowly, patiently dropping my bombs on targets. It's just what I enjoy. You, on the other hand, may definitely prefer to dogfight in fight planes. It's up to you, right? Yeah, I completely screwed that up. Never mind. This armored car seems to have largely stopped there. I don't know. Neither of those are going to hit. Never mind. We've got another 10 bombs, including 2 slightly bigger 250-pound bombs underneath there. I was in a really shitty position to drop bombs on those guys then, so planning your attack approaches and how you're going to come back and do another attack in a bomber is probably important. It's not something I'm very good at. I'm not a very efficient bomber. Oh, I got a hit, at least. Did nothing, though. These are really shitty bombs I'm using at the minute, but whatever. I'll take what I can get. In that case, I didn't think I was going to get anything, honestly, so right, I think I've got a slightly better angle this time, so let's try this again. Oh yeah, much better angle. Right, okay. Let's try this. Right, there we go. That's all the 10 of my remaining bombs gone. Let's, let's just keep heading this way, I think. We're at decent enough altitude now, nobody's going to come up here and get us. We could stay up here for the rest of the game, I think, probably, and no one's going to come after us. Question is, can we kill anything? Maybe. We don't know. Am I going to get incredibly unlucky and get nothing? Also maybe. No! We got 1. Fair enough. From this high altitude against moving targets, not bad, I suppose. Unfortunately, most of these bombers were really designed to bomb big static targets like enemy factories and things like that, but unfortunately in this game there aren't any missions which involve you bombing big static targets. So bombers like this, like in high altitude bombing, is naturally handicapped anyway. Unfortunately, there is one big static target you can bomb, and that's the enemy runway in a ground attack mission. You can in a ground attack mission. Actually, you destroy the enemy runway and win the game that way. But little bombs like the ones I'm doing right now do so little damage, it would take 10 IL-4s with this bomb load to destroy the enemy runway. It really would. You can only really do that with bombers that carry the really big bombs, like the 4,000 pounders, that sort of thing. So, come back round for another pass of these tanks, I think. I don't see any juicier targets around anywhere, I don't think. No, I don't. I think they're all down here. Oh, looks like someone blew up one of them. Never mind. See if we can... Oh, that's terrible. None of those are going to hit. 7 bombs left. What else can we go for? Might be about time to start doing some really risky maneuvers and doing some big dives down to get down low and make sure we hit our targets. Specifically, I'm looking at those 2 tanks and the armoured car down there. So I think I'm going to lose a bit of altitude now. Put some distance between me and those vehicles, and then I'm going to come back round and... Oh! You know what? I actually got that tank, would you believe it? That was a stroke of luck. I didn't think any of those bombs were going to hit. Anyway, yeah, so come back round this way. Still got my combat flaps up to reduce a bit of speed, to create a bit more drag. Mostly that I have them up just so it allows me to, you know, climb a bit better. Right, I'm going to go into an absurd arcade mode dive right now. This would normally tear my wings right off in a historical battle, so don't do that. But it should build me up enough speed to avoid most of these enemy fighters, hopefully. And I can just go and kill a bunch of these enemy vehicles just down here. If I'm lucky. We may just simply get shot down, but that'll be fine, because then I can jump into my IL-2 and do some serious damage. Right, there we go. Hey, nice. Oh. What on earth? Are you... Is he really gonna... No, he's not gonna ram me. I thought he was gonna ram me there, honestly, and it would have been really, really shitty of him if he did. But no, fair enough. They shot me down properly, if you want to call it that. Down we go. Did any of our crew make it out? Nope, sadly not. So we got taken out by an air cobra, who I think, yeah, we probably damaged so much that he decided he needed to land. Or he just decided to land, screw it, because the mission was over, but there you go. Oof, bombing! In this game, yeah, there we go. We got, as a grand total, 6 ground targets, which isn't amazing, honestly, but as you can see, now bearing in mind I am using a premium account, that did earn 15,000 XP and 11,000 credits for just flying in that one IL-4, dropping bombs at high altitude. I even got a couple of upgrades for it, engine injection and the Ep.3, which I believe is... Let's have a look. It's probably something that allows me to carry... Yeah, bigger bombs, excellent. It now allows me to carry 2 500-kilogram bombs and a 1,000-kilogram bomb, which... You know, I'm going to go ahead and... I'm going to go ahead and put that on there. Look at those things, they're massive. I'm going to go wreck a few airfields with those things, but anyway. In the meantime, there you go. I gave you a bit of a showcase on bombers. This video was once again probably absurdly long. I do apologise for that, but I had a lot to say, and I didn't want to skimp on too much of the actual flying compared to my talking about tech trees and things. So hope you all enjoyed it. Hope you found it useful. Keep your heads on a swivel, everyone, and I will see you again pretty down soon.